Okay. What is going on, my people? It's your boy Mario of Woke Up a Rebel, and we're here about to have a conversation with Gaby. We're about to let you know who Gaby is just now. Okay. Hello.
Yo, what up, Mario?
Not much. You good?
Yes, I'm good. I'm awake. It's a nice day outside, so I hope everybody's getting those sun vibras. How you doing?
Hey. I'm doing good. Today has been a very good Sunday so far. My mom was here. We were chilling. We had lunch together. Um, Played with my cat. So it was good. It's been a good morning so far. Good morning and afternoon.
Yeah, I know I can relate to the cat because I got two, so that's an important part of the day. Gotta leave room for the fur baby, yeah?
I know. Something real quick. I actually helped find two kittens a home. Yes, well, two cats. I helped find a home for them yesterday.
Oh, no way. It was somebody you knew or
Yes, like shout out to Teria Morada. She's a Toronto artist, amazing, very dope artist. She asked me if I knew anybody that wanted two cats, and preferably somebody that wanted two, right? And it just so happened that this lady at work, she wanted two cats. You know, her kids, they're older, they moved away out of province. You know what I mean? So it's just like, damn, like I felt a way about it. And then next thing you know, I hear that somebody was giving away two cats. She wanted two cats. We just had this conversation this week, and it's just like perfect. The universe was listening, so
yeah,
it was
no such
amazing.
things as coincidences in my opinion. So that worked out the way it was supposed to for sure.
Yeah, it was so dope, being able to be a part of something like that. Everybody's happy. The original owner is happy that they went to a good home, so it's good.
That's
Mission
dope. I'm glad you're a
accomplished.
part of
I
that makes you,
know,
it fills
right?
up your cup a bit, right? Like your good karmic cup.
Yeah, like it was so dope because I can't even imagine now. Like this is why I don't like the fact that people like to breed cats so much, because there's so many cats that need a home,
Yeah.
that already exist. You know what I mean? It's like be a responsible pet owner, and you know what I mean? Like especially when it comes to cats. There's a lot of abandoned cats, a lot of cats in shelters.
Yeah, and then you have like your cat sanctuaries every now and then in the city. Even I currently live in Brampton and there's like a really big population of street cats. Even in like my immediate neighborhood, it's crazy. There's like a whole little clan of them and they just like they're always rolling with each other, which is cute, but it's like you said, then you look into retrospect like how did y'all get here? Like who owned you before you ended up in this way of life? So yeah, I hear that. Even with dogs, it's the same thing, right? Like I think last year and even up till now, I think the impound rate was like really high because like
Yeah,
people were like giving their dogs either away or like people would find them abandoned, which is even worse in my opinion. So I mean, yeah, you gotta make sure you're ready for that responsibility before you decide to just hop in.
100%. But I it's so funny how our conversation started with cats.
I
Sorry.
know.
Because
It
we're
went
here
from
to talk
it's
about
gonna go
music, but
from
we started with
cats to
cats.
something completely different.
I didn't expect it, but it is what it is, and I'm very happy. The point is, cats found a home,
Yeah,
and I can sleep better tonight knowing
that's
that I helped.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right, Senorita. So, I don't want to give away too much about who you are. I don't want to ask too many questions because I want to save that for our episode that we're going to do in Revelations Podcast. Right. So
That's
I don't
right.
want to give away too much. I want people to just hear our conversation, about music, straight to
Absolutely.
the point, and keep it nice, short and sweet so that people can absorb as much as they can without, being fatigued by, what the internet is all about these days.
Mm-hmm.
Short attention spans. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Down
just
with that.
uh, yeah. So just let people know who you are real quick.
So my name is Gabby, but I go by YG Gabs on social medias. I'm a freelancer, content creator. I am also a body contouring specialist. I own my own business called Fina Beauty Bar. So I kind of dabble into everything, from the body contouring to media creating to music analytics and analyzing music. Definitely would probably call myself like a cultural sort of analyst as well, since I like to dabble into hip hop, reggaeton, salsa, even a bit of like house music. So I mean,
Hey.
that's kind of just the rundown about me, not to give away too much like you said, but that's sort of my everyday when it comes to like introducing myself.
Okay, blessed. And because of what I've seen you share on your story lately, I'm intrigued because your takes are actually very good. And you made me actually want to go listen to the Young Miko album because it's like, I don't know, I respect your views on music, your opinions on music. You know, you share a lot of good content when it comes to music. So I'm like, let's check it out. And, you know, I felt like I had something to say about the Young Miko album from the perspective of, I would say, reggaeton elitist, you know, from back in the day. But I like to keep it humble these days, you know, more than ever because I don't want people to feel bad or feel like shit because it's like, look at this music elitist making me feel bad that I'm listening to what I listen to now. I don't want to be about that. That's not the energy that I want to come with. I want to have an open mind and just critique music for what it is. You know, just the music. Keep it in the music
Yeah.
and about the music.
Yeah. And I hear that. I mean, we've between ourselves had conversations quite often about how there's been a big shift in pretty much every genre right now, whether it's reggaeton, whether it's rap, hip hop, pop. There's a big shift going on, and I think we get the brim of it because we've seen it evolve to like where it is today.
Yeah.
I was so glad that like you hit me up about the Young Miko album too, because your take was interesting. Like when you gave me your take, I kind of like took a step back and did my own research as well, and I was like, oh damn, like I didn't even know that she said such and such. So it's good to have a community of people that are like-minded in that way and that are also like educating you, right? Because obviously we're not know-it-alls. We don't have the ins and outs of like all the music we're listening to, so it's always really good to like be open-minded and take in other people's information.
100%. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so let's get right to this. You know, Young Miko. What is your take on it? What do you rate the album?
So
If you
Young
have a rating
Miko,
for it, I don't want to pressure you.
no, right? Like, well, in all honesty, I pretty recently got into Young Miko as an independent artist. Of course, most people heard her for the first time on Classy 101 with Fade. I think that was like, yeah, that's a banger. Like across the board, everybody fucks with that track. And I think because of that track, I kind of like had more interest in her as like a female artist and as a Latin female artist. So I was like, okay, like let me take this girl in a bit more. And even her past works, which are like EPs and kind of like underground sort of music, I have to say like I was impressed with her past work as well. The less popular songs, so to speak.
Right.
And with her new album right now, I think she definitely broke that barrier for like the new solo artist, so to speak. I think
Mm-hmm.
she really like came through and made a good first impression. I would personally give the album an 8 out of 10, like a solid 8 out of 10, because I
Okay.
just like her versatility in terms of like she had a bit of rock in there, she had a bit of house, she had her hip hop, her reggaeton, and even her features. I think she was really
On point.
dynamic with that. Which,
Yeah.
yeah, like she had a lot of like different people, like Villano. I don't
Villano
know if a lot of,
Antillano.
yeah, like a lot of people are not familiar with him, or I don't know. Sorry.
I
So
don't read either.
yeah, like I don't know. So that was one of the features, and I'm kind of like having a brain fart right now of some of the other features she had.
Jeff
But
Fade on there twice, I think.
yes, was on there twice. So I mean, like, I think as her
Joey
first
Randy were on there.
Joelle Randy, yep, like that sample, like one of my favorites for sure, one of my favorites. So that was something else I appreciated, the samples that she used on the album. Hence why I gave it the 8 out of 10 that I gave it. I just think she was really versatile for this being like her first breakout project.
Right.
What are your thoughts though? Because you did mention Vino C as well, or Vico, is it Vico C
Vico
or Vino
C.
C? Yeah,
Vico
Vico C.
C.
So that's the Bomba para Fincar guy, right?
Yeah.
So like what? You gotta educate me on that, because even though I did my little Google search, like I need to hear it how it was.
Yeah. So just very straight to the point, Vico C is like the very first Latin hip hop artist that, made it mainstream, right? He is the inspiration to your favorite artist, from Puerto Rico, Daddy Yankee's inspiration. Like a lot of these people looked up to Vico C, right? Because he was the first one to make it big, to cross, to break barriers, into the US market, and then through Latin America as well, right? In the late 80s, early 90s, right? But then in the early 2000s, Vico C, like, I guess he got some money. I forgot what label he signed to, but he had some money to get some good producers. Looney Tunes produced for him. DJ Blast produced for him. He had Tony Touch, right? Para Mi Barrio. Like during those days was when I think Vico C was in his peak, right? When Para Mi Barrio was out, El Bueno, El Malo y El Feo with Teo Calderon and Eddie D, right? So that was a good time, in Vico C's career. And fast forward to now, he's a Christian artist, right? And he's been a Christian artist for very long time, since like the late 90s, right? But he's been able to maintain a mainstream status because his topics are very um, palatable, I guess you can say, to any audience, whether you're Christian or non-Christian, right?
Right.
Because of the fact that he's a Christian, he's been very open about his views, especially when it comes to LGBTQ matters. And he's not trying to be offensive in any way with his views. It's just that if he's asked, he's going to give an opinion, but he's not pushing his opinions on anybody. Obviously, in entertainment industry, it's kind of like you can't have an opinion about it unless you agree with the main, I guess, opinion, which is be open about it, accept everybody, which is fine. But when you can't really criticize Vico C because he's been a Christian for so long and nobody's ever cared about his opinion about LGBT until now, right? So it's not cool and it's not fair because he is old school at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
But
it's a different
he,
generation.
right, and he was having a conversation. Somebody was interviewing him outside of some building. I think it was a concert or something. And Young Miko walks by with her entourage, and Vico C kind of like turned around thinking she's gonna say hi to him. She just walked right by him, and it could be interpreted however you want, right? Young Miko never commented on it. She was even asked after the fact. They're like, "Do you know that you ignored Vico C? Like it was him," and she just didn't even address it whatsoever. Which I think it was very smart on her end as well. She doesn't want that beef. She doesn't want that controversy, right? Maybe she doesn't like him for whatever his views are, but I respect the fact that she didn't try to make a thing out of the moment. She didn't want that to be the attention that she had on her, and it kind of went away. But for somebody like me, it's like, oh shit, she dissed El Filosofo, but maybe she didn't. I'm also open to that theory too, that maybe she really didn't mean to disrespect the guy.
Yeah,
But that's kind of like what it is right now. Is the media kind of made it this thing where she disrespected El Filosofo,
yeah.
right? So
I'm just gonna say, from like what I read, it did seem a little more confrontational of an interaction than like what you're describing. So it could have definitely been a sway of the media as usual. Like we see it happen every
yep,
day, especially in music. But I feel like what you said is true. She played it smart by not really addressing it. Whether there is actual beef or not, she dealt with it with grace.
right,
It's a little bit finicky nowadays to like kind of ignite a beef with an OG in the music game. It's almost like stupid to do unless like you got big balls and you're like on top of the world. I mean, we're seeing it unfold even right now with this I'm gonna do it quote unquote rap beef going on um with Drake, J. Cole, Kent, like all these guys right now, all the big dogs are in this alleged beef. And I think what propels it is people like me and you, who just watch these things, who just have an opinion, who are vocal. So there's a million me and yous out there who are pushing for these things to be more seen and to be more talked about. Hence why I think the things like this and this encounter with Young Miko and Miko C has its narrative, because people want it to be something.
Mm-hmm. 100%, and because of that, I've tried my best not to be biased, when listening to her albums. Like, no, 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 she doesn't hate Vico C, bro. She doesn't hate Vico C. Just listen to it for the music. Because I didn't really know who she was until Classy 101. And she sounded amazing on that. And I'll be honest, I have not been the biggest Fade fan, but I've given his music a chance. And there are some songs that I do like from him, and some songs that I actually listen to, that kind of like made me feel a little, you know what I mean? Like they make me feel something. So I give him that much. I've given his music a chance to the point where I've actually found songs that are actually really good. I've added to my own playlist. So yeah, it's just about having an open mind. I cannot. Most people, especially when they're getting older, you're so closed off to new music. It's not gonna sound the same, from when you were growing up. It's just not. Like things are meant to evolve, right? They have
Absolutely.
to. Otherwise, the genre will die out with us. The old heads.
Yeah.
And when I say us, I mean me.
Yeah. I'm in there too, man. Like, I know, don't try to be nice. I feel that too. Like, even the shift that hip hop, for example, has and currently is taking. Like, my stance on that too. For someone like me who has always held hip hop very near and dear to my heart and like made it a part of my life, to see the shift that it's gone through up until this point, like it's kind of sad, to be honest. And I understand, like, things evolve, people evolve, artists change, and evolve into these different types of people. But at the end of the day, with my evolution, I need an artist who's gonna like kind of follow with that. And also, me now being more educated on music and how powerful it really is to like the human brain and just like the human psyche, I have tried to be a little more conscientious of like what I'm listening to. What am I putting in my ears? What am I putting in my head? What am I reiterating out of my mouth? Like, that is very important. And for something like music that is supposed to be so universal, I think more people have to kind of look at it the same way.
Mm,
Especially right now with like all these different views, I guess you could say, that are out in the world. Like, not to, I don't want to say it's dangerous, and I don't want to like put any negative connotation. However, I do think people need to like wake up in a sense and really dissect, like, okay, what am I listening to right now? What is this artist trying to tell me with this song? Is this song uplifting a culture? Is this song diminishing a certain group? Like, you kind of have to like weigh it out. And I know like some people, they don't even bother doing that. They're just like, oh, I like the beat of this song, or oh, I like the way this guy raps, so I'm just gonna keep listening. But when it really comes down to it, you've gotta be a lot more conscientious of that stuff, because that stuff has energy attached to it. That stuff has a lot of things attached to it. It's not just somebody writing bars and calling it a day. Like, there's a lot of energy, aura, messaging, programming that goes on in the music industry. And I think, like I said, people just gotta keep up with what exactly that means.
100%. I agree with you, and that's why I wanted to have a conversation with you, because your takes and your views are like that. Your mindset is like that, and and I also don't think that everybody should have access to a microphone, because some people's opinions can really do a lot of damage. Instigate a lot of beef. Yeah, like I don't know, it's just a lot. But back to the Young Miko thing. The main reason why I wanted to have a convo about it, right? So we can get off the Young Miko topic and move on, right? Keep it going. Is that Young Miko? It seems like, how do you know how old she is? I don't know how old she is.
I don't know how old she is either, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
I would say she's under 25, maybe, for sure, right?
Yeah, she's got to be under 25.
Right. And the I have no problem with her content. She's singing to her audience. She's singing about her experiences, right? Or rapping as well. And I just feel like with the colors that are chosen for her cover art, the designs, the Tamagotchis and all of this, I feel like it's trying to get the attention of teenage girls specifically. But her content is not meant for kids. It's not meant for teenage girls, right? So I just feel like it's kind of weird that her music is being explicitly marketed to teenage girls, it looks like. And I don't know, what do you think? Do you see what I'm seeing, or am I looking too deep into it?
No, like I just said, like you, like especially us as adults, like I think we have that responsibility to dissect and go further into like album covers, lyrics, song names, because that stuff does matter. And I do agree with you in terms of the way her album cover is created. I actually thought the same thing when I first saw it, and I was like, okay, like it's her on it's a cartoon version of her on a bed, and you see like a old school like 2000s kind of looking
Yeah.
computer, got like a Polaroid over here, a Tamagotchi there. So again, like you said, it all kind of dabbles into like, okay, this is catered to teenagers. Where I think it's inevitable is the fact that a lot of these bigger artists who themselves are not teenagers, they're usually like over the age of 21 at least, their biggest demo is the younger crowd.
Always,
And
will always be.
and it's always going to be right. Where I think she kind of meets in the middle for people like us and then people like younger than us, I think is the fact that one, like she's in the reggaeton industry, which is like very shined upon at this given time. And I think too, because she has her own stance, whether you want to call it political or um, I guess her preference, she's gonna push that. And we live in a time right now where things that are very like black and white to some people are being pushed. And like you, I know you catch my drift, and we're on live, so like I don't want to say too much, wrong
Yeah.
word, whatever. But to the point to that matter is, somebody could have told her, hey, maybe you could change this cover. This seems a little too juvenile. Yeah, you're catering to a younger audience. However, your lyrics are essentially more towards adults. And that's just any music industry. Like we see it in hip hop the most. For example, like when I was younger, I loved Lil Uzi Vert. Like I loved him. Like nobody could talk about Lil Uzi to me when I was younger. Fast forward 10 years later, and I can't like even try to listen to things like that, because I know the agenda that that artist is currently pushing. I know the things he does. I know
Yeah.
like what he's on, and if I don't agree with it, like why would I want to continue to like give that person my listens, give that person my money, the streams? Like I don't want to do that. So with Young Miko, I think because she's in the pocket of a younger audience, she doesn't necessarily have to worry about that. She's always gonna have that fan base with her.
Yeah, they're gonna
They're gonna,
grow with her.
you literally just took the words out of my mouth. They're gonna grow with her, and that's what essentially successful artists do. They go for the younger audience, an audience they know they can kind of mold and kind of craft around. And if you're a smart and strategic artist, you will literally carry that on with your audience and grow with them. So who's to say like Young Miko is gonna continue to rap the way she does, or rap about the things she does? She could completely change her stance in the next 6 months, a year,
Yeah.
five, right? Like we don't really know. But with what you mentioned about like just the album cover alone, yeah, it's a little questionable as an adult, right?
That's how I felt about the Bad Bunny visualizers that were happening. I think it's during the time Yo hago lo que me da la gana. I think it was during that time we had the little kid watching TV with the bunny ears. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? This is weird.
I mean, even his album before that, X100.
Yeah, por ciento. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think,
So
yeah.
that one, it was a whole freaking eye on the album cover. Like,
You saw that too, right? And I mean, a lot of people know about this stuff. Nobody's really, um, you're living under a rock if you haven't heard the term Illuminati or, those things, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it could also be a marketing strategy from his side too, to get people to pay him more attention or, but why would you want to attach to yourself to that kind of stuff? It's going to be with you forever on your art, but I don't know. It is what it is, but it's just weird that music, especially reggaeton, is marketed to kids. But same with hip hop, and with the future Metro Boomin albums, I tried listening to it. To be honest, I couldn't listen to a full song because it's just the. I feel like it went a little bit more repetitive this time. I feel like they rushed this project. That's just my opinion. I've been on the fence with Future ever since his career started. Um, I think he's an innovator. I think his sound is very unique and it's his own, and he's been able to get a global fan base because of it, right? But this album, I feel like there wasn't enough creativity to it. I feel like the low bass, the sub bass was way too much for me. Maybe the earbuds that I have now are too sick, but I felt like it was just way too much low end for me when it came to this Metro Boomin album in particular. The second one, where we still don't trust you, that one I actually kept two tracks: Love, Bad Bitches, and Drink and Dance. Those are the only ones that I thought were actually worth keeping, from the entire two projects. So I won't even give that one a rating. The Young Miko one, I give that one a 7.5 out of 10. Because I kept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs from the album. I kept, so I think it's pretty sick.
yeah, that one as a, like I said, as a first kind of foot in the door as an independent artist, like she did the job. Metro Boomin and Future, like I tell everybody, I am always a production over lyricism person. So when I hear a project
Me too.
that like has a sick production, I like tune in and I really try to like feel it on a level. The first album, same thing. I had maybe like two tracks I liked. I liked Cinderella, the one they had with Travis Scott, which by the way, like also another artist. I went like from this to that. Like I don't listen to him anymore. But that track I actually liked. And then I also liked the Young Metro track, which was just Future and Metro Booming. I thought that beat was like really, really well done. And The Weeknd had a little like cameo on that too. So that was pretty dope. The second one, to me, I just felt like Metro probably had a bunch of beats he had in the vault that he like didn't know what to do with. So he was just like, okay, Future, like, do you want these? I feel like that's kind of what happened. Like you said, like
Yeah.
the I think both of them sort of sounded a little like mushed together. It didn't sound like there was an actual curation done throughout
Yeah, there
them.
was no storyline in my
Yeah,
opinion. Like it didn't really tell a story. It was just it was a playlist almost.
exactly. That's exactly what it was. And yeah, I wasn't really a fan. Between the two, I think I liked the first one more. The second one, I was just like, huh? I was like, okay. I was like, all right, y'all dropped it anyway, so you're gonna get the listens, and then who knows? We might be having to wait for a Kendrick response. I don't know if you heard like Drake's diss
Yeah,
track.
it was wicked. It was wicked. I want to ask you something. Sorry, before we go into that topic, we're at it's 6:03. This was a really sick combo, and going into this is like a whole other combo. I think it deserves more time. So, do you want to save this for sometime in the week to have this combo about the Drake Kendrick thing? Because there's a lot of people, and it'll probably get a little bit more exciting after today. So, I don't know. Do you
Yeah.
want to have a brief combo, or do you want to do it another time?
We could totally have a brief. I'm here if you're here. So
Okay, bless.
let's
Yeah, bless. Okay, cool. So the main thing for me is, um, like we both come from like hip hop from a long time. I don't know when you started listening to hip hop, but for me, no music was really introduced to me at home because in my home it was only Christian music, right? So everything that I listened to, I found it on my own, you know. So hip hop, I've been listening maybe since I was maybe 11 or 12, no, like 10 years old. I remember grade five. I was introduced to Tupac and the greats. So um, I find it weird what's happening. I think it's such a strange situation happening. I feel like there's a couple of narratives happening. I think it's a very orchestrated beef that's going on. But at the same time, I feel like there's like a couple of side stories happening that are not part of the narrative. And I think J. Cole doesn't want to be a part of the narrative. Maybe he agreed to it at first, but then he's like, I just don't want to do this. So I think
yeah.
it's a very weird place where hip hop is with this. But let me know what you think, especially because a lot of ladies don't talk about this kind of stuff, right? So I want to hear from your perspective what's going on.
Well, I mean, for someone who grew up with like all of these rappers, essentially, like I remember when J. Cole came on the scene, when Drake came on the scene, when Kendrick dropped his first project, Good Kid, Mad City. So again, going back to evolution of an artist, I think even you as well, like you've seen these guys get to where they are right now, and we've seen their musical dynamics change. We've seen how their crowds have changed and grown, especially Drake. Like he's international now, and I think this beef is kind of like a alarm clock to people like us who have been feeling like rap and hip hop are kind of in a dark place right now, and there's also just not a lot going on. From a lot of perspectives, I see people saying like, "Oh, this is the rap beef we needed. Oh, finally, rap's alive again." And it's like, okay, you might be right about that. Your eyes and ears are open. Everybody's tuned into this beef. However, like what's going on behind the scenes, like you said, there's like side little stories. We're hearing about like Drake and Metro Booming. They were with the same girl, and that's why they have beef. And then Kendrick saying that he's had tracks for Drake in the vault for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drake coming back now. I actually, before we hopped on this live, I was watching a bit of Academics. I'm sure you know who
Oh,
Academics
yeah,
is.
yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
so tied into the industry, right? So he actually like linked up with Drake, and Drake told him like, I've been waiting years for Kendrick to do something like this. So that just goes to show like there is definitely a lot of strings in the background and behind the scenes things that like we might not fully know on a spectrum, but it's affecting how things get delivered and how things are written and who hears what. um so like this beef, because it's orchestrated, like a part of me doesn't really want to like give it attention, if that makes sense, because I've been listening to hip hop since like I was born pretty much. You didn't have it in your house. I was the opposite. That was all that I had in my house. My mom like has always been a hip hop head since she came to Canada. She was 8 years old. She came from Colombia. And my mom just always gravitated to rap and hip hop. So for me, growing up with that same kind of ideology and admiration of the craft, I knew the difference between somebody who was a good lyricist and somebody who was just good with like double entendres. I was
Mm-hmm.
good with somebody who like was sick with production, and then somebody who maybe just likes to run with samples. So I always had like a very diversified view on hip hop culture. But with this beef, it's just like, it's like, okay, why are so many people involved now? Like we got like, where the
I
hell
know.
did Rick Ross come from? Like what the hell was that? Like, and I personally like, I have a love hate for Rick Ross. I think he's had like just a lot of ups and downs when it comes to his music quality and like just things he said. Like he has some wild lyrics, but
Molly and
regardless,
Champagne.
yeah, oh my god, dude, you read my mind. You read my mind. I was literally thinking about that
Yeah,
lyric.
that's
That lyric's wild. That lyric's
after
wild.
that is when he fell off for me.
Yeah, that lyric is just wild. But anyways, to get back to the point, I think people got to really be careful like when you have something so orchestrated, because especially in hip hop, the best and like most authentic raps, there's no orchestration. There's no timeliness of it. There's no sort of like setup. It's just done.
Yeah,
It's just
you
spit.
just drop it and let it work.
You just drop it and that's it. If there's beef, it gets dealt with and you call it a day. In this day and age we live in, obviously because there's social media and because there's so much more devotion to fan bases, this beef could go on for God knows how long. Like Drake could be talking mad shit right now and saying that he's got all these songs in the vault, and like realistically he might just be dropping an album for all we know. Like, you know, like people gotta really think ahead when it comes to these things, because half the time it is just orchestrated or it is beef that's just kind of getting fumed up for people like us to feed into, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good take. Good take.
What's your take,
It,
like in terms of having all these heads in the same kind of pot? Like, how do you kind of look at it from your perspective?
can I tell you the honest truth? I am not a
Yeah,
fan. I can't say I'm a diehard fan of any of the top three.
yeah.
I'm not. I like a few Drake songs. I like, for the most part, I like the Drake songs where it's really about like just separating yourself from shitty people and shady people. You know, I like those tracks. And all, I think those are very relatable to almost everybody, especially people trying to do something, you know, in arts or media or anything. You know, you meet a lot of those type of people that, you know, solo interesados, you know, so he has a lot of those type of songs. Um, but I can't say I'm a Drake fan. I can't say I'm a Kendrick fan. The Damn album was pretty good. You know, there's some songs that I still have from that album, but everything else, I don't see the amazing. Like, yeah, he's a great writer, but the stuff that he writes about, or you know, it's just not fun for me. You know, like I've heard this before. I've heard this stance before. We have the immortal techniques that actually, you know, are more relatable to me, right? That have that kind of pen that get you thinking, right? But I think the last Kendrick album, I can't remember what it's called, but that was a bore to me. The main one that I liked actually was the one that Boy Wonder produced for him. I can't remember what it's called. It's like, I think it's track number
The
3 on the album. I can't remember.
untitled one, right?
I can't remember, but it was a fun beat that Boy Wonder made for Kendrick for that the last album, right? But I didn't listen to it after like the first time. I just couldn't. You know, it's not my thing. And also J. Cole, I've never been a J. Cole fan. He has a few songs, probably a handful or less, that I like of J. Cole, because it's just I find their music kind of boring. It's made for charts,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's made for charts. It's made to qualify for Grammys, and you can sort of tell when it's made for that, right? So I've never really been a fan of theirs, like a diehard fan, like I have been of other artists before them, right? But judging of judging based on what's going on, you know, trying to be unbiased, this doesn't seem like a real beef, you know, because Drake is Universal. J. Cole, if I'm not mistaken, is independent right now. He used to be Rock Nation. Rick Ross is Atlantic. Kendrick is Interscope. And it just feels like the labels need something to make money, to get some attention. So they told all of these different guys from different labels, just like when movie studios come together and they collaborate on a film. I feel like this is what we're seeing right now, is just movie studios or music labels collaborating, you know, to get the hype going, to get blogs talking, you know, to just get some eyes on hip hop again. But J. Cole just seemed like he wasn't with the program anymore, or maybe it is still part of the program what he's doing, right? You just can't really tell anymore. And Rick Ross's response was a little catty-ish,
Yeah.
because why are you talking about the man having a nose job? Like,
Yeah.
bro, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, like that's not stuff that men should be really talking about. Talk about his bars. Talk about why you're mad at him for once.
Yeah.
You know, for starters. You know, why are you mad at him, Ross? All your hits are with him.
Yeah. And I think too, because of that diss track he gave out, we learned that it actually goes a little deeper, and it's really regarding like a French Montana situation that Drake had.
Hmm.
But again, it's like, well, what, like, Ross, how deeply did you feel about this, that like you felt you had to like involve yourself at this point in this beef and like go as low to mention if whether he has a nose job or not? Like, it's like you said, like, where's the actual rap beef energy? Like, why are you not coming for his talent? Why are you not coming for his strength in the hip hop industry? And for someone that's number one, like, that should be your job, trying to make, like, put him down. I mean, like, I'm not one to like put people down, but when it comes to rap beef, that's the job, that's the goal. You got to show why you're on top and why that person's at the bottom. It's not a matter of like mentioning petty things like a nose job or whatever the case may be. And to just go back to your stance on Drake, like, I'm also the same. And like a lot of my like friends like are like, oh, you're a Drake hater, oh, you hate, and I'm like, yo, I don't hate the man. I just think the over calculation, it doesn't compensate for his talent. And like,
Hmm.
I just have kind of felt off in that sense because he's such a calculated artist and businessman. Like, you got to give it to him. His marketing team, like,
Yep.
yo, we got to give them a round of applause, because every single time he's in something, everybody has to know, everybody has to be involved, and it kind of propels him to like be who he is, right? And same thing, like, I've never been like a big J. Cole fan. Like, I fuck with some of his projects for sure. Born Sinner's probably like my favorite. But to say that like I'm a diehard fan, I'd pay to go see him, no. Kendrick, I've like I said earlier, I've always admired his craft from like Good Kid, Mad City days to now. Although I thought his like diss track like that on Futures, it wasn't that strong to me. But of course, nowadays you never know what's gonna get play, you never know what's gonna be considered fire, and everyone seemed to love his this. I personally didn't see the big deal about it. But then again, you get more invested the more artists become involved. So Drake responded, it was a big thing. J. Cole responded, it was a big thing. Then he kind of retracted. So another point that you made, because he's always been a humbler individual and a humbler artist, all this rah-rah is not for him. Like, this is beneath him, which really shocked me that he even came out with like a hit, that 7-minute drill diss, which by the way he now deleted on all
Yeah,
platforms. Like, it's things like
strange.
that I'm like, oh, y'all are doing this all wrong. Like, this is not real rap. Like, why are you deleting your diss? Like, why are you doing this, J. Cole? If you weren't about the shits from the beginning, then you shouldn't have even involved yourself to begin with. You should have just let Drake sit with whatever he was saying about you, and you should have just gone on with your day. But instead, whether, like you said, he's independent now, so whoever is behind him that maybe pushed him to do this or advised him in the interest of this, I think that's who's to blame. I don't think J. Cole himself actually wanted to come to the forefront of this beef the way he did. And just him apologizing, as much as that is like admired, you're missing the point of rap beef, my guy. Like, now you look like a bitch, respectfully. Like, it just, in the rap game, you like, you're almost canceled at that point. As a
Yeah,
person, all power to you. Like, I rate that as a man, but now you're gonna have to go sit back in your corner, and it may take him a little while to get back to this momentum that he had.
I agree. I've been listening to that was a great take, by the way. And I've been listening to a lot of the OG's podcast. The one podcast that I listen to is very controversial, depending who you are. Is I listen to Lord Jamar. You know what I mean? Podcast.
Hmm.
And Lord Jamar is one of those old school cats with no filter. Do you ever check out his podcast?
I've watched a couple of his podcasts. My man actually like watches some Lord Jamar as well. So
Oh yeah, I love it because he straight up he's like one of your unks, that there's no filter, and loves to talk about hip hop. And for those of you who don't know who Lord Jamar is, he's from the old school hip hop group Brand Nubian, and what's his name? Grand Puba was in it. I don't remember the other guy's name. I'm so sorry, but I just knew Lord Jamar and Grand Puba, right? So Lord Jamar is allowed to have an opinion, about what's happening. And his take on he has a clip, like a 20-minute clip on his podcast that I watched today. And he said it straight up. He's like, this is the sport of hip hop. It's like, you didn't have to apologize. Like, it's not that serious type of thing. Like, keep it in. Remember, it's just hip hop. He's like, can you imagine like Kumo D back in the day apologizing? Like during the days when battle rap started becoming a thing, right?
yep,
Like it would have been the end of it at that time. It's like no more battle raps because it turned into some punk thing. This is just J. Cole took it a little too serious, I think,
most
and I'm not gonna lie to you, this is why I didn't listen to J. Cole ever, because so many people growing up hyped him so much, thinking like, yo, this guy's the best lyricist, he destroyed. This is what everybody has been saying throughout J. Cole's career. And now when it came to actually testing it, like, bro, you back out of the fight? That's commendable in real life, but this is not real life, my bro. This is entertainment. This is hip hop.
yeah,
The hip hop is built on this. You can't change the rules, bro. You're
yep.
trying to change the rules, and it doesn't need to be changed unless it's gonna get violent turn into a street thing. But everybody's saying this was never gonna go to the streets, especially with J. Cole and Kendrick. It was just never gonna go. Like, what's wrong with you, Cole? Like, you could have just
Well,
gone at his work. That's all you really should have. And he did. He kept it about his music. But
yeah. But look now, like you mentioned, it would have never gone to the streets. But this is another reason, like I'm very like cautious with Drake because I feel like now that he has so much touch, unfortunately, with that comes like street politics and even going back to academics live, like that was lightly touched on. Like, what's gonna happen now if this Kendrick and Drake beef gets to a certain all-time high, and then what? Like, man's from Toronto can't go to LA, or vice versa. Man's from LA can't come to Toronto,
oh, that
which
too.
I don't think like could
Never thought of
happen.
that.
I mean, like you, right? Like I didn't think about that either. But then when you look really deep into like who Drake has behind him and like kind of who he's always boasting about, he's the type of man like he would make it hard for someone like Kendrick to come here, I feel. Do I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
he'd be successful?
they made Pusha T's life hard.
E- Exactly. So, and that wasn't even like, I mean, it was a big beef at the time, but imagine now, like him and Kendrick have had this beef for years. Like this is like literally like almost a 10-year beef. And it's just been getting conspired behind the scenes. And to hear both of them saying that they have like tracks ready to go, they've got like diss tracks in the vault, that says a lot. And there's also like a group of people that attach themselves to hip hop artists and to the culture that sometimes, and I'll maybe say like a younger crowd is more of this mentality, but they'll take it to like a point where they'll be like repping this person in like a more aggressive way, and they'll kind of like take it where it doesn't need to be taken. So academics touched on that a little bit in his live stream, and he was just like, realistically, there's no way like Drake wouldn't be able to come to LA. Like he just has that much touch that like it would be almost impossible for someone like him to not be able to like still come to LA and do his thing. But then the other way around, as you mentioned, the way it was made for Pusha T in Toronto, I would hope it wouldn't be made that way for someone like Kendrick. Then again, Kendrick is also somebody who like keeps low on the radar, drops a hit every now and then. Like he's very in the background at this point, and I think he wants it that way. just like J. Cole. Like they purposely are not out here in the spotlight. Whereas Drake, whether he says he wants to be behind the scenes or not, he's not. Like he's always forefront in anything, controversy, music reviews, album releases, like hit even Childish Gambino. I'm not sure if you're a fan of him, but he's dropping an album, I think like tomorrow or tonight.
Oh,
And do you
okay.
think
I'm looking
they're
forward to
paying
that.
to that
No,
rollout? Nobody gives a fuck about that rollout. And that makes me sad because I love Childish Gambino and I think he's so
yes.
talented. And everybody's just consumed in this fucking big three, big three. So, it just goes to show people's like power trips and like how much hold and power they really have over an audience.
Nobody got it worse than Big Sean.
Oh,
Like, yo, this completely like shat on his album. He
yeah,
did this
yeah.
whole
And
rollout
Bryson
thing.
Tiller.
He got abs. Like he
And
got
Bryson
really fit for
Tiller.
this rollout.
And Bryson Tiller. I know you're not a J. Cole fan, but when J. Cole dropped that project like last week or 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago,
Bryson Tiller, it overshadowed his project.
yeah,
He hasn't dropped them for a while.
I saw a meme where someone was like, "Oh, Bryson Tiller finding out that J. Cole dropped an album the same night, and like it's a man like punching his laptop." I was like,
Yo,
"Ooh, I feel
oh,
that."
it is the worst. Yeah, I feel bad, but yeah, thank you for letting me know that Childish Gambino is dropping one. Um, before IG cuts us off at the 1 hour point,
Mm.
I just want to touch briefly on Drake's diss, right? His response. He kind of, if I'm not mistaken, insinuated that Weeknd's manager is Diddying, not in the
Um,
sense of Diddy like doing trafficking things, but the fact that he's a fan of gentlemen. I think that's what he was insinuating about Cash XO. I know who these people are because I care about this stuff, management teams, like who's
yeah.
who, in that sense. And it's just like, oh shoot.
Well, I
Now
mean,
that's revealing.
we all know things go on, like questionable things go on in the music industry. Um, if Cash had that specific part to play, I'm not too sure. What I understood and interpreted from that diss track is that like Cash is pretty much just like using Abel for like money, essentially, like kind of
Mm.
just running accounts and whatnot. Um, but again, like you gotta really like look too, like okay, is Drake talking shit right now, or does he have receipts to back these allegations? Like, and people run with this shit. That's like the good and the bad thing about social media and like this day and age we live in. Like, you can't always fact check shit, and something like that,
Yeah,
like, people like you and me, how the hell would we
I
confirm
know.
that something
Unless you're
like that is?
running in their circles, right?
Yeah, but to say that it's not believable, I wouldn't say that. Like that would make sense to me because
Oh
there
yeah,
has
Weeknd
been
hosted his
conflict.
own mansion parties.
Yeah, yeah, like there's just been too much talk about Cash kind of like managing the weekend in a certain way, and even Drake touched on Kendrick's manager as well, right? And like kind of mentioning how you know he'll do anything at the snap of a finger for him. If he says drop and give me 50, he said a line like that.
Oh yeah,
My
yeah, yeah.
my
That
was
was
even like
crazy.
reiterating it to me before the live, and I was just like, yeah, I was like, see, like Drake comes with the things to say. It's a matter of like, okay, now we gotta fact check every bar
Yeah,
because you know.
yeah.
So
And at their level, like you're really exposing a lot of shit about people that are high, like executives, behind the artist. But I think after the whole what Pusha T did about going at Noah 40, exposing his MS, his multiple sclerosis diagnosis. I didn't want people to think it's MS-13 we're talking about. Noah 40 is a part of MS. No, exposing that, I think Drake is like, yo, there's no holding back after that. Anything goes.
mm-hmm.
So him exposing Cash like that, who knows? Nav going. This basically showed me that Scarborough's not a part of Toronto. Scarborough is not a part of Toronto.
No,
We
no,
and
they're
Nav, like, what are you
whole
doing,
other
bro? You're
like little
Brexit.
world.
Yeah, and I guess the Brexit is also another world too, thanks to Nav. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
ASAP Rocky was so random. He just jumped in there, you know. Nobody really
that's what
cares what ASAP
That's
did.
what I'm saying. All these random ass people. Obviously, we know ASAP's issue with Drake. Like everybody knows. Like it goes down to Rihanna, and like even him. Like he reached by saying like, you know, I had sex with your baby mother. You had sex with mine. Like let bygones be bygones. Like that shit's so weird to me. Like where did you come from? Why did you decide now was the time to bring it up? Because everybody else is dishing out
Yeah, you
either.
know, it's just like, why not? He probably just got a nice little paycheck off some royalties, you know. Why not? You know, it's business at the end of the day. He probably just wanted to make a little extra cash jumping in on it. And he had something, you know, wanted to throw in his two little cheap shots. Why not?
Yeah.
Uh, Quavo and Chris Brown. Have you heard their back and forth that's happening?
No, what's happening with them?
So I think it's a Karuchi thing.
Oh.
Quavo's dating Karuchi, I think, and Chris Brown threw some shots at Quavo, and Quavo did the same. But Chris Brown, he gave him some good shots, you know, because he kind of rhymed Quavo with Jose Cuervo, and he's basically saying, "I drink 1942," not basically saying not that cheap shit, Jose Cuervo.
Oh my god.
So it was good. Chris Brown came nice at him, you know, with his diss. Not really. I'm not a fan of Chris Brown whatsoever. So you know that one just came up because you know the podcast started talking about it.
Well, I'm only laughing because like how is Chris Brown gonna like beef a man over a woman that has a restraining order against him? Like if that ain't crazy, then I don't know what is. Like
I don't know,
like
but
I can't
that
see
one seems
like
forced too. I think that beef too. It seems really
oh
forced
yeah.
to me.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
it's like I don't want to hear it. You know, like
It's
what?
always
I don't know,
over a
man.
woman. Like it always ends up being there's always like a woman involved, which is like so contrary to hip hop for me. But
Mhm.
nowadays you hear it all the time. Like someone slept with this person's baby mother, or this person took this woman from this like there's just there's so much like cattiness that
I know.
it really drawn me away from like rap beef. Whenever I hear those rap beef, I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, let me guess. It's about a stripper or like an IG model. Like you always can predict these things nowadays. So
Yeah. And Senorita, we're gonna get cut off just now, you know, and I want to leave it with this. What Lord Jamar said that just came to mind is even if you are sorry, even if you back out, don't say you're sorry. After Nas and Jay-Z, nobody apologized and they ended up working together. Cole,
yep,
you could have continued working with Kendrick anyway.
that's
You didn't
that.
have to apologize. You could have kept it moving. And they went like, yo, freaking Nas went ham on Jay-Z and Ether. Nobody apologized. And they kept it moving and they made money together after. So I don't know. They could have handled it a little bit differently. I think hip hop is in a very very strange catty stage right now. But yeah, señorita, I know we can continue this like forever. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
And
you for
before we get cut off, I just want to actually formally say thank you so much for joining me on this live. Folks, tune in for the episode that's going to be coming up very soon, where I'm going to sit down with Gabby and have a conversation about you know who she is, what her business is about, and what the future holds in store for her.
yep.
So,
Tune in
thank
and
you,
all right, Mario.
thank
Thanks
you,
for having me.
thank you too. You're very knowledgeable, and yeah, this is not the last combo we're gonna have. Hopefully, I can save this somehow, and yeah, it'll be cool if I can add this into other platforms. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Thank you
Yeah.
everybody for joining us. Who joined, peeped in and out. Peace out. Have a good Sunday.